Hi, this is Roger Balzer. Welcome to our 2-Minute Tuesday special edition for February 3rd of 2018. Our title for this week is Perspective. On Thursday and Friday of last week, the Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 842.75 points. Boy, that sounds like a lot, but I want you to keep it all in perspective. That's just a little over 3% from the high. I'd like to remind you that about 3 or 4 times a year the market pulls back by about 5%, and at least once a year it pulls back about 10%. This has happened since the 1920s. Before Friday's move, it had been close to 4 months since we had a 1% drop in the market. That was one of the longest times in history. Talk about being spoiled. We as investors have not seen a 5% move on the downside since the middle of 2016. It's about 18 months. Just as a side note, it's about how long it takes a killer whale to give birth. The last time the market was overbought was way back in 1961. Last week the market was overbought by about 68%. Think about it, a rubber band being stretched to almost 1 3/4 its normal size. That's a lot. That's where the markets are right now. So how does this overbought market condition get fixed? Well, there are two ways. Number one, the market can simply go down. And number two, the market can do what I call just jog in place, not move a lot over the next few weeks or possibly few months. Markets reach overbought and oversold levels very often, and they right themselves many times without folks even being aware. Looking at here is what we like to call a distribution curve. On the distribution curve, there are 6 zones. Zone 1 and 2 are what we call oversold conditions. Zone 3 and 4 is the normal area where we should be, and zone 5 and 6 are what we like to call the overbought conditions. If you go back to your statistics classes way back in high school, it kind of should basically look like a bell curve. You should have a majority in a normal period of time, things in zone 3 and 4. But if you're taking a look at this curve that we have right now, almost everything is in zone 6 and zone 5. That's where the majority of things are happening. That is the overbought condition. That's what we're talking about. And if you take a look at the things that are in zone 1 and 2, you may not recognize the symbols, but basically that's the US dollar and IEF, AGG, SHY, and LQD. Those are all bond investments. So those are way on the oversold condition. Majority of everything else is sitting in zone 5 and zone 6, which are the overbought conditions. What you're looking at here is the same image, but I've hand drawn in where the actual bell curve should be. Thank goodness I'm an advisor and I'm not an artist, because don't think I'd make it very well as an artist. But hopefully this gives you a clearer picture on what we're looking at. As you can see, and as I mentioned, most of the symbols are in zone 5 and 6. This is a market that needs to work off what we call the overbought condition. And as I stated earlier, markets do not need to go straight down for that to happen. They can just simply jog in place for a few weeks or even a few months to work off that overbought condition. As I said before also, most of the time in a normal market, you will have the majority of asset classes in zones 3 and 4. That's the fattest part of the curve. Nearly 2/3 of the time the markets live in this area. A normal distribution curve should have zones 3 and 4 with more members than zone 1 and 2 and zone 5 and 6. Currently the market is overbought. Again, there are two main ways to take the edge off of the overbought condition. One is it can go down, and second, it can stall for a period of weeks or months and work off that overbought condition. So now one last history lesson for today. Here is the distribution bell curve from October 1st of 2008. That was about almost 10 years ago, about a little over 9.5. But as you can see, it's a big contrast to what we were looking at for today. Nearly all the asset classes were in zone 1 and 2. Basically, that meant that everything was becoming majorly oversold. At that point in time, the Dow would fall in 777 points, about close to 7% that day, because Congress failed to pass the TARP bailout. The Dow at that time was 10,365. Now, I'm not forecasting what will happen in the future, except I'd like for you to keep in mind and keep the perspective that my long-term indicators, every single one of them, are all in green, and my intermediate term indicators are also all in green. Lastly, please keep in mind that before you make a buy or sell decision, please consult with your investment advisor. And if you don't have an investment advisor, we'd love to have a conversation with you. Please reach out to us on the web at roger@balzerwealth.com. Give us a call at 440-610-3012, or you can also follow me on Twitter at BalzerWealth. This has been Roger Balzer with our special edition of the 2 Minute Tuesday. Make it a great week.